stare down the bullies
This is what
with
appears
the
to be
full
the end
armor
of
of
Glen
God.
Beck's speech at the Audit IRS rally. I think he's been speaking
Honor,
almost 40 minutes.
courage, and love
I've made it
is what is
taped in the
required.
tape when
They
I
are
accidentally
contagious.
erased.
Spread the word. Proclaim liberty throughout the land.
At the end of every
Let us
2-minute tape,
today, as George Washington
like
said,
about to end.
raise a standard
And once again,
that
it
the
sounds like
wise
it's about to
and
end.
the honest can repair. The rest of it
delayed because I
is in the hands of God.
ended up having
God bless.
lunch
Thank
with
you.
Joe Trippi, underneath the Fox offices about a block from here. Fox, including the building that they and CNN and other things are in. So I assume that I'm calling other people I wanted to hear and already spoken.
Ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, we're joined today by some friends of mine whose son Aaron was killed in SEAL Team 6. And I just want to thank Billy and Karen Vaughn for being here today. And I just had another parent whose son was also killed on that mission. You should have received a text message if you go to our website, which is audittheirs.net, and it asks you to call and let your congressman know that this IRS scandal is not resolved, and we want some accountability, and there's a link. So if you didn't go to our site, go to it at audittheirs.net, and you may have gotten a text message from it. Our next speaker has a new ebook that came out this week called Why John Roberts Was Wrong About Health Care. Please join me in welcoming Senator Mike Lee from Utah.
Fellow patriots, I hear you today, and I like what I hear, because what I hear is the sound, the unmistakable sound of freedom. How about Glen Beck? I love that man. One of the things I love about Glen Beck is that he reminds us of something that we all need to be talking more about, which is that governments, especially big governments, inevitably go bad. They become tyrants when they get too big and when they get too powerful. Now this, it's important to remember, remains true whether the government in question is headed by a Republican or by a Democrat. And it remains true whether the government in question is headed by a king, an elected president, or, as it turns out, an elected president who thinks he's a king. And yet, shockingly, our national government, headquartered just behind us, decided 3 years ago that it was a good idea to take charge of the most personal decisions in your life, the decisions regarding where to go to the doctor and how to pay for it and what kind of insurance that you have. And get this, they decided to give the power to enforce that to the IRS. I know, creepy, isn't it? There were a lot of problems with this bill. First of all, no one had read it. Secondly, they gave most of the power to make most of the laws that will actually govern you to other people in other parts of the government. Thirdly, even after they wrote it in a way that was unconstitutional, and 5 lawyers wearing black robes across the street rewrote that law not just once but twice in order to save it, and that's a problem. So we're now stuck with the healthcare law that Congress didn't read, that Congress didn't write, and the American people are not going to tolerate. You see, it's with this understanding in mind that our founding fathers gave us a gift, a great gift, a gift that said, we know that governments are like this, we know that this is what governments do. They become this big animal that tramples on your rights and your property. So we're going to limit our national government to just a few areas. Well, we've gotten away from those limitations, and together, as patriots, as Americans who love this country, as Americans who love this government but want no longer to fear it, we're going to unite together to restore constitutionally limited government. And so I invite everyone within the sound of my voice to join me in this cause, to become part of this national dialogue, to talk to your friends, your neighbors, your aunts, your uncles, your co-workers. Tell them what's at stake. And when we work together, we can form a movement, a powerful movement, that in 2014 will make 2010 look like a Sunday picnic for the Democrats. This, in short, is no ordinary nation. This is a land ordained by Almighty God to be inhabited by sons and daughters who would live free. Let us live free together, and to do that, let us restore constitutionally limited government. We can, we must, and together we will. Thank you.
Lee spoke approximately 1/7 of the length of time that Glen Beck spoke.
Our next congressman helps someone you're going to learn about a little bit later who is referred to as question 26. But right now, let's welcome from Ohio, Congressman Brad Winstrup.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You all look fantastic. Thank you so much for coming up here today. So proud of you. It is your house. It is your house. I do want to remind you that this trip is not a tax-deductible expense. Be sure you remember that. Also, you know, when my office is in Longworth, and when I walk in the main entrance there to the left, in the wall, it says, "In God We Trust." As I look at this $5 bill, it says, "In God We Trust." It shouldn't have to end there. It should continue with those that are here to serve you. And it has not done that. It has let us down tremendously. Being from Cincinnati, I'd much rather be bragging about the Cincinnati Reds than talking about the IRS agency there, as you might imagine. Somebody asked me recently, "What's the IRS mean?" And I said, "It's really sickening." That's what it means to me. It's really sickening. You know, I grew up in a different time. I watched Superman. I believed in truth, justice, and the American way, and that's how I was brought up. That's how I was brought up, and I grew up with the belief that we, the people, control this government. As Ronald Reagan pointed out, other governments, their constitution says what the government gives the people the right to do, and ours says we, the people, grant the government certain rights, and that has slipped away from us, my friends. And we're going to get it back. We're going to get it back, and we're going to fight on all fronts. You know, I think at the end of Saving Private Ryan, Captain Miller dies, and he says, "Earn this, earn this." And the elderly Private Ryan turns to his wife years later and says, "Tell me I've been a good man. Tell me I've led a good life." I wonder how many people that play political games with the American people in their job as professionals of the federal government can look at their family and say they've led a good life. They've got to think about that, and we're not going to stand for it. The IRS is not there to pick on us. They're there to serve us, and they better know that, and we need to get rid of those that don't understand it. This is the challenge of our generation. When I first got sworn in, I went to the Library of Congress, and I saw all the things that America has done throughout its history that have been great things, that have been an influence and an example for the world. And I turned to my wife and I said, "What are we leaving? What is this generation leaving?" Well, it's going to leave the actions and the results of you being here today, and what comes out of our fight to make sure that we are a free people and a people of a government of the people, and not the other way around.